too. Like pretty much simple majority is pretty easy for people to understand. When you
Mm-hmm.
think of when you're deciding you're with a group of friends, there's like five of you. One of you want, you know, three of you want to go to Burger King. Two of you want to go to Rudy's. The three who want to go to Burger King are the that's the simple majority because there's one more than the two. So you're gonna go to Burger King to eat. You know.
Okay, let's go back a little bit because
Okay.
this is weight over my head, Senator. So what I'm saying to you is, okay, there are three branches
Yeah, three
in
branches of
government.
government.
So wait, don't tell me. Let me see if I can remember my old civics lessons. Let's see. Um, Judicial,
Yes.
right? Then there's legislative,
Yes.
and then executive.
Yeah.
So first, okay, you have 30 seconds. 30 seconds. Tell me what each of them do. Go.
I mean, the judicial branch enforces the laws that the legislative branch has created, and the executive um, implements implements their idea of how they believe the governance should go down. But not one branch is more powerful than the other. They need to work together to um, effectively lead effectively lead the government, our representative government.
Okay, so Senator, here's my question. I have a pothole on my street. Okay, let's just pretend like it's a national outcry for this thing to be fixed. So we want federal legislation. Talk to me about the process. I complain to somebody, and I'm not saying like actual localized government. I'm saying like pick an issue. I don't know what. Okay, how about this? What? I don't even know how to ask the question so I can get the question to get the answer. Um. Okay, I think I got it. Name me one thing that has to be legislated at a federal level. Just any problem. Go.
Our borders between
Borders.
a country and
Okay,
another country.
I like this. So borders. Okay, if I want something done about border control, whatever, talk to me
Hmm.
about the process. Where do we start? Is it the executive, the legislative, or?
It would be your legislative. I
Mhm.
mean, so those that's our representatives, our federal representatives, and you would reach out to that. So if say you're in New Mexico,
Mhm.
we have two senators. Every state has two senators, and our representatives are based on population size. So
So who do we attack first? Oh, sorry, not attack. Who do we contact first? Would it be our senator or would it be our representative?
I guess maybe I would say that you would want to reach out to the person that maybe because I would say, do you have an established relationship with, say that with one of these, if it's a representative or a senator, because you want somebody to have an open ear and open, be the most receptive to whatever you are trying to push forward. So you'd first want to look at that. Do I know somebody that may know our federal representative? Do I know that's you want because you want them to listen to what you are saying. But some say I guess you not some say, but senators are on 6-year elected terms at the federal level versus representatives who are on 2-year terms. So you would say the Senate is more powerful in that sense. They have 6 years terms. They do a lot of things. There's less of them. We only have 100 of them versus I couldn't tell you. I should know. I should be good at this. I should know how many federal representatives that we have, but we have far more of those.
We're trying
Uh,
to figure this out together. It's okay.
yeah, I should be better at this, but we have 100 senators, and those are very powerful and very powerful individuals. But you want to look at what the issue is, and you want to talk to them, and because you want to talk to whatever. We'll say we reach out to a senator. We have a good relationship with Senator Ben Ray Lujan.
Hmm.
He's our senator. We have a good relationship with him. We reach out to him and say, like, you know what, like, we're having some issues, a specific issue on the border. We'll say that um, my avocados. I love avocados, and they come from Mexico, and we're having issues getting those avocados over the border because of um, how they go about our commerce coming over, how they bring the avocado trucks over, and something that you think that could streamline that or could make it easier, or just
Right.
tell them, hey, let's figure out how do we solve this problem? How do we solve a problem with getting avocados over the border more effectively?
Mm-hmm.
Because New Mexico, we're not big avocado growers here, so so we choose to get our avocados from Mexico because we're being good neighbors. Good neighbors want to help their neighbors be effective too. So we want to help Mexico. They have something we do, and I'm sure we have something that they need to. So we're being good neighbors, and we buy our avocados from Mexico.
So I gotta go back. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Like every time we scratch the surface on something, I have another question. So who is over the legislative?
So that's our representative government that we have. So our representatives, those are on 2-year terms, and we have senators. That's at the federal level.
6 years for senators, 2 years
for representatives.
So judicial, is that the Supreme Court?
Yeah, Supreme Court, our federal circuit courts. There's a few levels within the federal judiciary. The Supreme Court being the highest level, can't get any higher than that.
Mm-hmm.
They have lifetime appointments. So do the lower federal circuit courts. They have lifetime appointments there. And then we have the federal prosecutors that are in there too as well under the judicial branch. There's a wide variety of different departments under that, but that's kind of a quick little thing.
And the executive, we're talking president?
Yeah, the president has his cabinet. He makes appointments for heads of governmental agencies. That would be the executive.
Okay. So I got a problem with avocados coming to New Mexico. First we start locally and work our way up, and then we get to a federal. We are aiming for representatives who are in the House. Is that correct?
Yeah, in the House. They're referred to as the House.
What do you call? Where are the senators? Such as yourself. Wink.
Actually, that's an interesting question. Because the overarching is Congress, and when they say Congress, that's the overarching, that's including representatives and the senators. But they refer to the House for representatives. But I don't know. I guess.
Oh, the Senate. So
yeah, there we go. Yeah, the
House, because I've heard them say that before. Shout out to CNN.
Senate. Yeah.
So we start with our avocado issue in the Senate, in the House, which are the representatives, which are the legislative branch, and then that sends over to the Senate, which is our senators. Yeah, and that's also in the legislative branch, and those two bodies
between. So something can start in the Senate, but it has to go to the House, and vice versa. So they can bring a bill forward from the Senate side. It gets passed over there, and then it gets to the House, and the House has to pass that, and vice versa. But what happens when you introduce the bill and it passes on the Senate side, when it gets into the House, they can make amendments to that bill, and they make amendments on the House to make it whatever fits, whatever they want, whatever they specifically don't like, certain language or whatever in it. Make amendments. So now that amended bill from the House side has to go back to the Senate for them to approve it again.
No wonder.
Who knows how many times? But it has to go through committees. So, that's just a simple way, because there's also, before it even gets to the floor to be, it gets voted on, it had to go through a certain X amount of committees, and then it gets voted on by the Senate, and then it goes over to the House side, has to go through committees, and the House has to pass it. So that's just basically the easiest way to think about it is a bill gets approved on the Senate side, it goes over to the House side has to approve it. Other stuff happens in between there, behind the scenes, different things like that. And then it gets passed. That's a simple way to think about it.
Okay, so we haven't even left the legislative branch yet, and already we're stuck in this loop of avocado fights. So I need them to be here by this time and delivered by these people, and then it sends to the Senate, and they're like, well, maybe not this time, but those people are fine. Then it goes back to the House, and then back and forth. until they have something solid that they both agree on, correct?
Yeah.
And then does it go to the judicial
No.
or the
No.
executive?
So I guess where it would be where the judicial part of that be if there's some sort of law stopping the avocados from crossing the border. Say there has to be a super bug check. Like there's this it goes over its excessive amount. They have to individually x-ray the avocados. It has to go through 5 different spraying of pesticides and a bunch of different steps. They're just bogging down the system, but that's how the law has written. So we're saying we're not making anybody any safer by what we're doing. It's just impeding us getting our avocados. That's where the Senate or the House are going to bring up, because of such and such law that was passed previously. It's causing the issue.
Man,
so
that sounds good. Okay.
Yeah.
So we make it out, and these are bills in the legislative, right? And they become laws.
So that's how our laws come. Our legislators, our representatives, are the ones that make the laws. The legislative branch enforces the laws that have been created by the legislative branch.
Well, I thought it was the executive branch that enforces the laws.
No. So there's the executive branch is there's departmental agencies under the executive branch. There's all these other things, but if somebody's breaking the law, breaking one of our federal laws, it's going to have to go through our judicial branch, through our court system there.
So, but how do they become laws? Is what I'm saying. It starts off as a bill, right? You draft a bill.
Yeah. So once it gets passed from both sides, the House and the Senate pass both of it. It's the law. That is the law now.
Oh, so it's the law then. So what does the executive branch do?
The executive branch is like overseeing the whole thing, but not one branch is more powerful than the other one. So they have initiatives they want to do. This is how we make government better. This is what our executive thinks should happen. They can come in and say that yes, we need to be. The president says this avocado issue is ridiculous, and we need to change this. So he works with the legislative branch to push forward something that's going to allow those avocados, and then overseeing the organization. Like let's say like the United States Department of Agriculture. He's one who appoints the head of that governmental agency. So he's going to talk to that cabinet member and tell them like, hey, what's up with this avocado thing? We need to work on something. And they're the experts in that. They should be the experts in that, in our agriculture things related, And it could be the Department of Agriculture says the reason why we do all this stuff is because the avocados that say we do produce here in the United States are of higher quality. We want them to be at the same quality that we get from Mexico. And that's why we do that,
All right.
So it's a constant negotiation. All of this is negotiation of why things are happening, what needs to be changed, why is it the way it is, all this negotiation, all this stuff happens. And just something simple as avocados.
That's crazy. I'm looking at the party divisions now. Like, this is a lot, man. I don't know how any lay person is supposed to grasp all of this. So I guess my next question, why are there often several things attached to a bill? Like, why can't it ever be like, hey, it costs $7 billion a year for everybody in the world to get fresh, clean water. And America wants to lead the way for the first 10 years and therefore guilt the rest of the world into doing the same thing to make sure everyone has fresh, clean water. How can we just can't say $7 billion for fresh, clean water globally in perpetuity throughout the universe, known and unknown?
Like, why can't we do that?
Yeah.
Because because it's a constant negotiation across the world, We do this and having the expectations for others. There's so many other leaders. We're not the only leaders in the world, So we have
No. I'm talking about America leading. Like, we stopped leading in very many categories, but we still cleave to this story that America's the greatest story. or the
Yeah.
greatest country, because we got, I asked someone this riddle, right? I said, what is often shared? Wait, hold on, I'm gonna mess up my own riddle. Okay, what is often shared, seldomly accurate, I guess, no, or seldomly well, but valued by all. And the answer, this is weird. Our family tries to make up riddles because anytime we have a riddle battle, people will Google and cheat. So we
Yeah.
were trying to find ways to make it up. But the answer is a story, right? Story. Stories are shared all the time. As you can see by even us, we're sitting here telling a variation of a story on this podcast, right? So they're shared often. They're not always, they're seldomly shared well, but they're valued by everybody, every walk of life, every religion, everywhere. Stories are valued. So I don't understand how we can't. I mean, seeing how stories work with America, the idea of the American dream still holds true in a lot of places. People are busting their humps trying to get to America because of this story, not because of cold hard fact numbers. They're not looking at it may take 2 to 8 years to get citizenship, if not more, right? And then you may be denied and kicked out the country while you wait. Sometimes you can't even wait over here for the process. All these different things, right? But people are still trying to, claw their way here. So I feel like if America decided we're gonna pay for we're gonna pay for water, and if we're gonna front everybody the first 10 years, but then we demand that every one of our allies, right, every one of our enemies pitch in because it benefits literally everyone.
How do we make that happen? How do we convince the world that that's the right thing to do and get behind what we're doing? I guess it comes down to having an executive, in the executive branch, our president being having good relationships with foreign leaders, foreign powers, in this to continue for them to get on board with this. So now we have he said the 7 billion to have fresh clean water for everybody in the world for the first 10 years. How do we have a good positive relationship with our other allies and be like, I know that we can provide this because we're on top of the mountain. We are the wealthiest country in the world.
Mm-hmm.
So I need to, at year number 11, we need to have X amount of countries to contribute to this freshwater initiative.
Right. So just to give you an idea, first of all, I way undershot that number. It's 150 billion a year, according to the World Bank, according to Discover Thomson Reuters, and they're saying that let's see, Thomas Reuters Foundation, countries need to quadruple spending to $150 billion a year to deliver universal, safe water and sanitation, helping to reduce childhood disease and deaths while boosting economic growth, said the World Bank. Those are some pretty good reasons, right?
Yeah, no, it is.
So $150 billion. Oh, sorry. I have to use my backup glasses. I'm missing a jigger. So I'm not a mathematician by any stretch of the imagination. So let me get my calculator out here. $150 billion with a B. Let's see.
I mean, we were part of something. I mean, not specifically for the Paris Climate Agreement, for Paris Climate Accord. I forget. I'm totally messing it up. But it's like basically for climate change, the Paris. I forget. I'm messing it up. But then it was a worldwide initiative to help stop our carbon, to reduce our the carbon in the atmosphere. And Paris Climate Accord or something. I believe it's called. Gotta look that. I gotta Google that to make sure. Don't want to come out of pocket with the wrong name for it. Basically, but we as multiple countries that come together saying that we're gonna reduce our greenhouse emissions. Stop polluting as much as we're doing. Reduce our carbon footprint. But we backed out of that. The last president backed us out of that agreement for various different reasons. What it was. You know, I'm not fully versed on what the requirements were for every country in that agreement.
Right.
You know, but there's initiatives like that, so it's not unheard of. It's not unheard of for things like that. You know, it's not unheard of to for us to get into um, um, things like that. And I think I think that's goodwill stuff. I think because we're more of a global economy than we are a um, singular economies. We're all, you can get on a plane and fly, anywhere now, pretty much, you know, pretty quickly, and businesses crossing all over the place. Where you know our commerce, what we get from here goes over there, and vice versa. And these borders are becoming more of um, just I don't know how to but well, basically our borders are disappearing really, and how we do business. You know.
So just to give you an update, because first of all, hello Twitch, hello YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. So we're getting some a couple of comments in here. Brian Tanner of Tanner Talks podcast coming soon. That gummit better be. You know what I'm saying? As a matter of fact, call me after this, that gummit. My number's in your daggone Facebook Messenger. I'm tired of frapping around here. Okay. So he asked, "Are we really the richest country?" And that has updated just this year.
Yeah.
China has passed us, so they're sitting at about 113 trillion as far as net worth per country, followed way back by the U.S., which is sitting at 50 trillion, and then Germany at 14 and France at 14 trillion, respectively.
Change. So I stand being corrected. We're not what's it called? We're
no longer number one. Dadgum, not even the richest country. One. Right. I don't want to look into some other things because I'm going to hurt some people's feelings. We start looking at education and wealth distribution and all these things. It's not gonna turn out very well. It's not gonna mesh well with the idea of the great American dream, right?
Yeah.
But what I will say, for the next 10 years, if countries decided to spend $1.5 trillion, every single person on this planet could have access to clean water and sanitation. So that means indoor plumbing, that means the treatment centers, everything. So what that does is not only does it decrease childhood diseases, which is just ravaging us worldwide, but simultaneously is going to create jobs, because we have to build all these sites. We have to build the piping. We have to, get the dams in order, everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, what's crazy to me, if you look at like how much do we say a year? 150 billion?
Yeah.
Right? Right now, China is sitting at 113 trillion. The US, 50 trillion. You know what I mean? Like this isn't such a big ask if you think about it. I mean, if the top 4 countries in the world do it, this is easy. But France could do it, Germany could do it alone, the US could do it alone, China definitely could do it alone. So why isn't this happening?
You have to convince people how we owe more than we're worth.
We owe more than we're worth.
No, that's true. I mean, there's a lot to that. What he talks about, our deficit that we have, which has gone up over the last 6 years, pretty quickly, that we've gone our debt. But there's an argument to say that for a well-functioning government, we do have to having a deficit allows us to be more agile on what we can do in the country. If we have balance, if our books are balanced, per se, it doesn't allow us to make rapid change to when there needs to be change made.
Right.
Like we have a wildfire in New Mexico.
The biggest in the country now, right?
Biggest in the country.
Or is it worldwide now?
I don't know if it's worldwide. I know it's biggest in the United States right now, but we don't budget for massive wildfires like this. Potentially, there was 20 of them around the country, so you have to go into debt to be able to be agile to to be able to put up the money to be able to do what we need to do. So there's
giving relief to those families and those businesses also generates more cash, which allows us to pay it. And just a quick note on how much, right? So the federal debt held by the public increased from 14.6 trillion in 2017 to over 21 trillion in 2020. So we're worth 50. Like, we got it. We're okay. We start calling in our loans and what people owe us, and I guarantee you it'll be easily paid tomorrow.
Yeah,
we do owe China specifically quite a bit of change. That's $1.06 trillion.
And it could be, it's a good, what's it called, to why we should, and maybe the avocado things might have been, we should be promoting American avocados, we shouldn't be promoting that, but that was a simple example or whatever.
Right.
But we really should be thinking about how do we bring that, what we get from China, to the United States. We need to change a lot of the way that we live our life, a lot of how we consume products, how we get back to, I always talk about, when you see vacuum repair shops and TV repair shops, those were all over the place. Now it's cheaper to just throw your broken TV in the dumpster than it is to go get it fixed, So if we go back to more of a like more products that are let's say are of higher quality and better made, that they can be repaired, and because it's going to be cheaper and that creates jobs. It creates another job thing. So we're able to, reason why we get our electronics so cheap, or cheaper. I don't think a TV, paying a couple $100, that's a lot of money to me, paying a couple $100 for a TV. Right. But, it's because of the low wages that it's cheaper for an American to purchase a TV from made overseas than from a person who makes it here, because of how cheap the cost of production is in another country to be put on a ship, shipped over here, and that's still cheaper than producing it in the United States. So we'd have to change how we consume products, so more back to having less, we'll say. You can't have
Senator, I know you're short on time. I've got another question in the comment here.
Okay.
Producer, will you put that back up? Thank you. Let's see. How can we spend and give so much money to other countries but can't help the people in this country? Now, one part of that I'm going to address first is the can't part. We absolutely can. But in this country, just like anywhere else in the world, and throughout the known and unknown universe, right, throughout all space and time, you never get what you deserve. You always get what you negotiate for. So our only negotiation power besides our spending dollars is the vote. And if we continue to believe the lie that your vote doesn't matter, then they're going to treat us that way. So, Senator, I've already corrected the can't part. Why are we not? Why are we refusing? Why is Congress refusing to help people right here in this country?
I like you said, voting. Like, if there was consequences for not doing what the public wanted from our elected officials, like we want less of this spending on overseas things, and your seats at now in jeopardy because of that, how do you think your representative is going to vote? So it's really more of how do we organize as individuals in our community to hold these elected officials accountable at all levels, from your local school board all the way up to your senator and representative in Washington. If we say that this deal's not good for us, people need to be held accountable for that. And that's what we do in this country. We have the power, our constitutional right. We get the right to vote, exercise our constitutional rights and vote. But we have to organize. We have to organize as groups of people, from your neighbor to your family to your co-workers. They all organize together to hold our elected officials accountable for that. So we are, in fact, voting them in.
That's crazy. So this is it's only $12,000. So again, every time we look at one thing, I get distracted and caught in another. So just to give you an idea, I'm gonna throw a few numbers at you.
Okay.
There are over 550,000 people who are unhoused right here in America, right? And then there are 38 million people, according to the USDA, including 12 million children in the United States who are food insecure, which means that I ate today, I'm not sure when I'm gonna get to eat again. 38 million. That's small by percentage, but that's a large number.
Yeah.
Right. And then you talk about people who's like, well, we're doing so great as a country. We've got the smallest amount of, poverty. Like poverty is shrunk.
Yeah.
But then they don't talk about the actual poverty guidelines.
Yeah.
So to give you an idea of that, my audience, and if you're not aware of this, Senator, one person making $12,880 a year is just above the poverty line. That means if you make $12,879 a year, you are technically in poverty. But what they don't say is the average annual monthly rent, or we'll say monthly, the monthly rent averaged at about almost, $1,164. So if you're doing the math, if you're technically not in poverty, right? If you're a single person who's working their butts off and they get paid $12,880 a year, they can't even afford their monthly rent, which right now the average on the low end is just about over 1,100. The median is about the same, and then it just goes up from there. So if I work in this country and I work myself out of poverty, I still can't afford a home, which meshes very well with the fact that there are 38 million people who are food insecure and over 550,000 unhoused persons here in America. So what do we do about these numbers?
So the places is where does the government come in to help that, to alleviate those things? Where does the government come in? Where does the government come into that?
Right.
Does there need to be, how do we regulate, like how do we regulate wages, or we have increased the federal minimum wage? Leave it still at $7.50 an hour. That's the federal minimum wage. Obviously, community states and cities have changed that. Like here in New Mexico, we have the state mandated minimum wage is, I believe it's like $11 or $12 an hour, something like that now. Might even be $12.50. But to increase those wages, But in turn, does that now, since people make more money, the minimum wage is higher, does that correlate to higher rent prices now? Because they have more money, so we can increase rent prices. So does our government come in and put, create more affordable housing for people, housing complexes? I don't want to say, or do we put there can only be a certain amount of, there has to be X amount of available rental properties at X amount of price, based on a sliding thing for income. But where does all that come together? And that really comes to the broader picture is how do we organize as people in our community to start addressing those issues, talking to our elected officials. This is what we're seeing on the street. We're the eyes and ears on the ground going on. What are we doing about this? How am I gonna be able to afford a house the way that the wages that we're being paid, the rental prices, the home prices? I think what an average home price in Albuquerque is now like $290,000. How are we gonna do that? And I don't
I know the answer to that is simple. So the late great Ronald Reagan, right? All hail Reagan. Reaganomics works. You pull yourself up by your bootstrap, Mr. Luna, right? Just like you did, Senator. You pull yourself up by your bootstraps, and then you just simply work hard, and then you become a billionaire, 40 or so years later.
That's the American dream right there, right? You got the opportunity, you're American, you can become a billionaire,
Right. So what are we complaining about?
I know we're not working hard enough. We're not working hard enough. That's exactly what it is. We're not putting enough hours in,
And he was so gracious enough to take the money out of people's hands and put it into private companies because he knew with his heart of hearts that those CEOs and owners would just pass the extra money that they were gaining by avoiding taxes onto the workers. You know, I talked to a buddy of mine, and he was talking about, hey, man, Trump did some really good things. Like, he gave a lot of money so GM could blah, blah, blah. And I was like, yeah. How many raises did you get?
Yeah, exactly.
These people got
trickle down economics. Trickle down economics is it has shown that in theory it seems like a good thing, but
it is a good thing. Reagan said it. What are you doing? I would not have you talk about the ghost of Reagan that way, sir.
It never seems to trickle down. We should have trickle up. What's it called? I think someone told me this somewhere, but like people-centered capitalism, you know, like because capitalism is a great thing. You should get paid. You should get paid for your work, and you should be able, if you create something, you should be able to make a profit off that. You should get paid for it. That's capitalism at its best. You know, you make something, you sell it for a profit. That's capitalism. But if we have people-centered capitalism, that where you support the worker, you support the people out there, so they can participate in the capitalistic system. We all become better people. We all become a more prosperous society. Support the individual with good schooling from a young age, K through 12, actually pre-K. I support pre-K, preschool for every youngster out there. The more you can learn at an earlier age, that birth to 5 years, your brain's growing every single day, making connections every day. So we can start educating our children as early as possible, teaching them all the great things that they should be able to be critical thinkers and critical thinkers and dream makers and all that stuff. All the way up to kids. We have good school systems. Equals means more productive citizens who can take on, make more innovation and do all this stuff. So if we support the children and we support those parents that have, because that's one of the greatest things in the world, to be a parent raising a kid that's going to go out there in society and be a productive member of society. We support those parents to be able to have them get paid with good jobs, have child care, all these things that come together. Together, then also guess what? You have this incredible things, but the whole name of the game is how do we get there? How do we do this? But it comes back down to organizing. How do we organize? How do we organize together? Get representatives who represent us to make these decisions, who allocate the money for education, control the rules around how we get paid. All these things come together, and we become better. But first is being informed and talking to your neighbor.
So here's my thing, and that's what we're doing now, Senator. We're trying. And listen, Senator, you have this D next to your name.
I'm not a senator. I want to get that first, but so you're listening.
Get him out of here. Get him out of here. Have a daggum asterisk. How dare you? Never say that on that show again. I am speaking truth to power. How dare you? How dare you? Apologize, sir.
I'm sorry I said that. But I'm not a senator. I want people to think I'm a senator.
Get him out of here. Get him out of here. So no, okay. So I guess I gotta be careful with my glasses here. Ooh, I only got one. Hanging on strong. So I guess my question, okay. Because you said a lot and all that's great. But until we really start to understand, one, there's power in people. The people still hold the power. The problem is the people have forfeited their power over to some guy with a story. Say what you will, right? With that D next to your name, say what you will. Trump told some amazing stories. Now, and a lot of people say, but they weren't true. Neither is The Hobbit. The Hobbit is a fictional. There is no place called Hobbiton. I'm sorry, Stephen Colbert. It does not exist. Okay? They shot that in a real place of New Zealand. That's right. But I'm saying The Hobbit is not real. Hamlet, Lion King, all these things are not real. But it still captivates an audience. Because we, give Disney, no matter what shenanigans they're up to, billions of dollars a year to be entertained by them. You know what I mean? We're buying our kids the merchandise and the toys. So I'm saying, I've switched to independent. How do you plan on winning my vote and getting me back to the D side of things?
I need to know what's important to you.
Ooh, what's important to me is that fresh water for all. What's important to me is that nobody in this country goes hungry unless they're just picky. What's important to me is that I get a fair wage so I can afford my rent and a vehicle to get to my job and not have to hear over and over about how people aren't working. When the number is out there, okay, the number is out there that there are more available, there are more jobs available than there are available workers. That means if everybody who can work works in this country, there'll still be vacancies. Like, I'm so tired of hearing, well, nobody wants to work anymore. No. Since before President Obama's term, George Bush was warned that if we keep along these trends, we're going to have way more jobs than we have people, because they're snuffing people out, trying to look good about border control and not allowing those people to take jobs, as well as we're not educating people to take some of the higher end jobs that, a lot of people aren't qualified for. And we're shipping out some of our best people to Japan and China and, France or wherever to work. Like, how do we stop that? So those are the things that are important to me, right? I want that American dream. I want to know in this country, if I put the effort in, I'm going to be relatively okay. But that's not happening. I have 2 jobs. My wife is working and looking for another. So what do you say to a family like us, who at one point in time, we were, because of a technicality, kicked out of university housing? Kicked out. We were a family of 6, and we had, I think, 4 days to move. Application takes up to 2 weeks, or at least 2 weeks. And they gave us 4 days to move. We were lucky to have saved very, my wife works at Wells Fargo. She's very frugal. We were blessed enough to make it turn into like a staycation. We stayed at hotels. We ate out every day. That cost us a lot of money before we got accepted to our newer place. So what do you say to us? Because as we looked, what we found is that, one, we made way too much for government assistance, but we didn't make enough to afford a home that could house all of us. So if you want to know what's important to me, that's what's important to me. So tell me a story so I can put a D next to my name and vote for you.
I hear you and what is what you're going through. And this is how I see that we can solve this problem. The government can come in. If I'm your elected representative, we can come in there and do direct action to see, why is there not affordable housing? What is the reason why? Is there not incentive in your community to have more available housing at an affordable rate? And what's causing that? Is there what are the outside, what are the outside influences that are causing rent to be at the price that it is? I believe in New Mexico, I think since 2017, I think the rents increased by like 30% in New Mexico. So we think about that. If rent was $1,000 average in 2017, it's $1,300 now. Why has it gone up $300?
Right.
Can we do? Is this where we legislate? Would be legislating that a landlord can increase your rent by X amount of percentage at the end of your lease? Is that something that would help more people to be able to prepare? Like, I know that my rent's $1,000 and it can't go up more than 5% on the following lease. So that's only dealing with a $50 at most increase in rent. I can prepare for that better than I can prepare for an unregulated amount. So they could go from, I think Austin had, where people had $1,000 leases and their next lease was $1,000 more than that, just because the value of property in that area, rental prices were going up. It was a desirable area to move. I believe Tesla moved there. Everybody wanted to follow Elon Musk to Austin, so it jacked up the prices. Is that something you think that would be effective? As a research show, it's all about finding what the issues of the community is, issues of my constituents, and how do I solve those issues? Because at the end of the day, I have a border-to-border area that I would represent. What are the issues in that community, and how can I, as this person who has the ear to power, as the mouth to power, change these things to better have a more productive community, have a more productive for the individuals? Because at the end of the day, we get back to organizing, and your representatives need to be hearing what the voice of their constituents. And if there's ramifications for not listening to your constituents, you might see things start changing. And I think that's really what we need to be doing. We need to be listening more, asking questions, and listening more. Asking questions. What is your problem? You told me your problem was you got kicked out with 4 days. How is that? How can they do that? How could you be put in that situation where 4 days you have to go find another place to live in 4 days.
So we did all kinds. We talked to lawyers and everything. Like I remember speaking to the police officer and me saying that like they're saying they're gonna put a bonnet or something, basically a cover over our lot so we can gain entry. And I told them like, well, how are we gonna be able to get our stuff, while we're searching? And well, you have to call and schedule an appointment. And so we're telling the police like they're threatening to lock our items up. They're telling us we have to move, but then they're threatening to lock it up. So, and then they're gonna charge us for every month that our things are still in there. Like, how is that possible? And he was like, well, did you pay your rent? I was like, sir, it's a university housing. Like that was included in my, whatever loans I got. So we were technically, we were notified of this in like February. So we had paid rent through the entire spring semester.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. So they were very dismissive of like, nah, you must have done something, basically.
Yeah.
Right. So I couldn't call the police. I talked to administrators, and they had some weird separation thing to where the contract you signed was the contract you signed. And what that contract stated, Mr. Luna, was that at any time you drop below 12 hours, right? Anytime, they reserve the right to kick you out. And there was no amount of time, no minimum amount of time. Now, I work for this place. I work for the University of New Mexico, right?
Yeah.
And when I tell you all, I was like, we've given people who got caught with drugs and weapons and illegal people living inside of their apartment, they got a 30-day notice. I say, if you go out and look at our security gate, if you tamper with the security gate, the thing that keeps that entire family community safe, 30-day eviction notice. Why is it for? I'm not gonna even dispute it. If you don't want me here, I don't want to be here any more than you don't want me here. But I need to know, right? With no sort of issues, with no like mispayments, and I've paid you through several months ahead. I need to know exactly why I can't get 30 days. So all of that hoopla earned me 10 days instead of 4.
So this is a perfect place for your elected official to help you, because your voice, obviously, there's the power for saying you 4 days. Then they were nice enough to grace you with 6 more days, because that's how nice people they're treating you. Because that doesn't seem logical. Like 30 days is the what's it called, right? That's the general consensus, right? I mean, I think the law says if you're renting an apartment.
Oh, it's up to 90 days if it was a regular apartment.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. And even the squatters' laws, if we do
either,
even the squatters' laws, Senator Luna, even the squatter laws, like if you can't forcibly remove someone, you know what I mean. So here we are getting booted, but that goes back to because after this, I've had time to think about this, and it still comes back to me. If I would have read through that, I don't know how many page contract carefully with a lawyer, he probably would be like, "Hey man, what about this provision here?" And then I would say, "Wait, so I can't drop at any time below 12 hours?" He was like, "Yeah, that's what it says here." I said, "Okay, yeah, I don't know if I want to sign this. Maybe we should find a regular apartment. Maybe this isn't for us." Because what happened was I still had time to add classes, but I had just come back from taking the fall semester off. I had, said that I wanted to stay again in order to, take classes in the spring semester.
Yeah.
And I still had plenty of time. And I was like, I talked to the dean all the way down, the chancellor all the way down. And I was like, I can still like get classes. I messed up with paperwork. So my funds didn't actually hit our account yet. And then our taxes hadn't hit our account because at one point we were just paying out of pocket.
Yeah.
Right. So, and I'm going through this story, and they were like, "Yeah, but the contract says there's no amount of time." Right. That's what the lawyer is telling us. There's no amount of time listed here. So, I mean, that's just maybe we should be reading all these contracts, right?
How you follow how like those contracts. That's another thing. How education, like people who are we can't be knowledgeable on everything. We can't be knowledgeable on everything. We can't know everything. We want to know everything. That'd be perfect if we know everything. That every contract that comes our way, we can read it up every which way. We understand what's going on in it,
right.
But we don't, and that's why like how having a network of individuals and systems to help people work through these issues, and there's not enough of those those people out there, groups that help people, educate people, and also a little bit of some empathy or sympathy, or just common decency to be like, isn't this kind of messed up? It's kind of very heartless. Family of 6 over here, 4 days, get out. Well, what if that was turned around on them? You got 4 days to get out. How would you be reacting right now? How would you be? And I think that's where we're kind of losing a lot of that, in our society.
Right.
So it's you should have read the contract. Well, can't you have a little bit of what's it called? A little bit of a heart here to see how that might not be the case. And I think
but that's not profitable.
Yeah, it's not profitable, and that's the issue.
Mm-hmm.
Things can be profitable, but they don't have to be unethical. You can be profitable,
but it's not unethical. It's not unethical if they are working within the guise of the law. So if we want things to change, we have to change the laws.
You have to change the law. That's where it comes to what we do. Like, we don't like this. This is upsetting to you.
Right.
This is put your family in a bit of to put it lightly, disarray. Put on a whole level of stress upon you and your wife and your kids. Your kids feel it probably even more than you feel it.
Oh my goodness.
So all those things, and that's why when you can, we have good representative government and people that are knowledgeable about these things, so you could maybe have, reached, you could have an open line of communication with your local representative to be like, hey, local representative in that area will say whoever it is, they're giving me 4 days. Do you think you could make a phone call for me and say to get something? Just a little bit more time for us. Could we get 30 days? Is that out of the question to get 30 days? That seems legitimate, or whatever it is. Whatever you can do for me is better than what I have right now. And I think that's what we need, a little bit more of that. But I think when we start thinking of, if everything's just dollars and cents, people that need the help, the people in our community that need the most help, always seem to fall through that crack every single time.
Well, if my wife and I, maybe me working 2 jobs and her working a job looking for a second, it's just not enough. We should pull our bootstraps up a little bit more, right? Put ourselves up our bootstraps a little bit more. Senator Luna?
How many hours you sleeping?
Say again?
How many hours you sleeping every night?
On a good day, 3 to 4.
Well, how about you trim another hour so that's another hour. You only get 2 now. You can get 7 hours. That's a whole shift you could pick up now.
Yeah, that's true.
That's a shift you could pick up right there. Cut another hour out. You could pick another shift up a week. Because you're not working hard enough.
I'm not working hard enough. That's it, man.
You're not working hard enough. That's the thing. We if you work, what's a full-time, 40 hours a week is considered full-time in this country. Full-time. Mm-hmm. Why can't somebody working a job for 40 hours a week afford a place to live?
There are people right now.
Well, all work is good work. All work is good work. So if it's working at a restaurant, pulling weeds on the side of the road, taking care of children or a loved one at home that needs that, all of that is good work, and I should be able to afford a place to live, afford to put money, or not money on my table, be able to put food on my table. I should be able to, not have to think about, how many, can I pick up a third job now? Can I work 2 jobs at once? Maybe is there a way that I could work 2 jobs at once? Like that's the issue. And I think that people qualify as some work being better than other work. You know what I say? If you're able-bodied and able to work, you should be able to afford the place to live. Should be able to afford to put food on your table. You should be able to feed your kid if you have a child. You should be able to do all those things. And why is it not that way? Why is that? And that's where I say government comes in to help you. Government comes in. Government should be there to create systems and ways to allow people to do that. Because not everybody does the right thing. We know that in life. So if there's somebody.
No. Let me stop you there. No. I'm sure the CEO of Walmart is definitely doing the right thing with their employees who work full time, but somehow can still get on government assistance, such as housing and food stamps?
I
Full
think
time.
I think we should incentivize. I think there needs to be more incentives for tax breaks based on how well your employees are doing. You get if if your employees are doing good, you're paying living wages, you're paying good wages. Guess what? You get tax breaks as this organization.
But we tried that. It's a failed system. So Eisenhower, under his 8-year tyrannical reign, right? Eisenhower, under his 8-year administration, the people who made, I guess, what would be equivalent to almost around $2 million a year now, were paying near 90% in taxes. At 1 year, it was 91%, and that was down from before he got elected. So something happened around the great Nixon and the great Reagan era that said, no, we're going to stop all that. And then now it's probably somewhere around 30 to 35 that the 1% is paying, if any at all.
I mean, that's if you don't have any deductions. That's just if I take zero deductions, I'm in that top tax bracket, and I take zero deductions. Yeah, 35% of that. That's just at the federal level. There's state taxes too, but we're just talking federal level. That's 35% of my income will be taxed. But if I have other things like giving charitable things, I got other stuff. I got solar panels. I can afford to have my house solar panels. I drive an electric vehicle. I have all these other things. I know that there's a big thing about
solar panels on the roof too.
All these things that you can do that you can get tax deductions for. So it starts increasing how much money you're taking. So you're getting paid back for that. You're getting paid back for that.
Senator Luna, here's a big issue. We are not putting our money where our mouths are.
Yeah.
And I say we because we're all Americans, but I'm saying the officials that we negotiated for. Because again, you don't get what you deserve in this country. You get what you negotiate for.
Yeah.
And what we negotiated to do was to put our heads down and look, I get to play PlayStation and watch the ball game and drink a beer. That's the American dream good enough for me. And I'm sure the politicians are watching the corporations, and the corporations are making all this money during the pandemic, but they're passing it down to the employees. I'm sure that's going to happen. But what I'm saying is, oh shoot. So what I'm saying is, like, I think there's a lot of work to do, man. There's a lot of work to do. And we're not going to do it in one episode, so I'm going to let you go. I know I'm way past your time here, but I thank you so much for joining me.
No worries. It was great. Always love talking to you.
No problem, man. No problem. And FRAP you, UNM. FRAP you, right? Because that's some garbage. So tonight at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, please join me and my partner Chulo Rich as we talk to model author Teresa Carter Kizzy. Here's a quick preview of that.
We're here, yeah, Gringo. Drop the pen and I'll be there. Where you wanna go, 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 go. Where you wanna go, 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 go. Where you wanna go, 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 go. Where you wanna go, 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 go. Boy, it's up to you. Tonight, make a reservation. I need a vacation.
Oh, go ahead.
With you, I want inspiration. All that stress you got release. Just breathe, better yet, just picture me. Set to see right by the sea. If you open up your mind, you'll see that rainbow on the pot of gold. You're a lucky soul, focus close. I'm in a 2-seat in a 2-piece. Jet please to the jet skis. A massage.
All right, so please join us for that. She has a tremendous story, man. So she is okay, I see you. So sorry. So she wrote a book. Oh, sorry. So I'm getting all kinds of distracted over here. Anyway, join us tonight, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. Urban Academia, that's at 931 UA. Again, at 931 UA. We'll be on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube, of course, live. And then you can join us next week on Spotify, Apple iTunes, or what is it? Amazon Music, wherever you get your podcasts. Okay. But yeah, she has an incredible story to share. Her book is about it's detailing her writing herself or her mother who had passed away. And I say passed away, but she was murdered by her father. And she didn't learn this, but she was basically just tune in and I don't know, tune in. Anywho, peace. Thank you so much for joining me. See you tonight.